It's been over a year since Nintendo announced that they're creating a sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. However, a few days ago, they just dropped a trailer out of nowhere, and this trailer was about a prequel to Breath of the Wild. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is a new prequel to Breath of the Wild, coming out in November, and it was a really awesome trailer. I am like super excited for this. And then I kind of noticed something about it. It was kind of similar to another trailer for another game. If you guys saw the title and thumbnail, then you probably know what I'm talking about. I saw a lot of similarities between Age of Calamity's trailer and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torna the Golden Country's trailer. So I decided to just make a video on what things were similar between both trailers, because they are very similar. So I guess let's just get into it. Roll the intro! So in case you haven't been caught up on the news recently, yes, there's a new Zelda game coming out. It is Hyrule Warriors, but it is canon and a prequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. If you haven't seen the trailers for either that or Torna the Golden Country, then, well, I'm gonna play them here right now. And I mean, you know, I need that watch time. First, here's the trailer for The Legend of Zelda Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity.
The history of the royal family of Hyrule is also the history of Calamity Ganon, a primal evil that has endured over the ages.
I think you are now ready. Ready to hear what happened 100 years ago.
Must protect everyone.
And here is the trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna the Golden Country.
What, you won't keep me safe?
I'll keep you safe. Always. You still remember that?
I'll never forget it. The day you set me free from a life of misery.
Brave soldiers of Torna, hear your king. Our country must make its own sacrifice to halt the terrible power of the Aegis.
When we first met, we could have burnt you to pieces. As I am not in full control of Mithra's power. This cataclysm Malos caused. It's likely all because Questa Amalthus was unable to control him.
Malos, the All-Knowing.
A diligent student, you could say. Wait! Mithra!
What is happening?
This is a battle between the Aegises.
What's wrong? That all you got? You got something to say? Stop holding out on me!
I just want to save.
Alright, so let's get some of the basic stuff out first. Like, not a part of the trailer, just a part of the game itself. Both of these games are a prequel to their original game that takes place at least a century before the original game. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity takes place 100 years before the events of Breath of the Wild, and Torna the Golden Country takes place 500 years before the events of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Oh, also, I probably should mention, I'm gonna spoil Breath of the Wild in case you haven't seen it yet. I'll try not to spoil Torna too much. I might hint at stuff, but I'm not gonna like say any spoilers for Torna. Breath of the Wild spoilers, yeah. Both of these take place during a war. Of course, there is, well, Hyrule Warriors. Obviously, it's a war, but it's a war between the Hylians and Calamity Ganon's forces. And this war did a lot of damage to the entire kingdom of Hyrule, as we can see in Breath of the Wild 2. Breath of the Wild original, not 2. What am I talking about? And then, of course, Torna the Golden Country takes place during the Aegis War, which is the war between Mithra and Malos. Now, this is about the trailers. The trailers are pretty similar in length, like 1.5 minutes to 1 minute and like 50 seconds. Now, both of these trailers have characters from their original game present. For example, there's like Zelda, Link, all the champions that from Breath of the Wild 2 are going to be characters in Age of Calamity. Same thing with Xenoblade. Characters like Mithra, Jin, Laura, Adam. Those characters that were shown, or that were actual characters in their original game, are going to be the party members of this game. Both of these games has the exact same art style as their original game, but like with, you know, bit of prettier upgrades. Of course, Age of Calamity has the same art style as Breath of the Wild, but you can notice it kind of looks a bit better and more like clean. And in Torna the Golden Country, it has the same art style as Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but as you can see through some of the landscapes and like the forest on the Torna Titan, you can see that it's a lot prettier and a lot cleaner than the original games. Now, although Age of Calamity is not yet out, if you've played Breath of the Wild, you already know how it ends. Ganon takes over, the champions die, and you know what? 100 years later, Link has to save everybody again. So obviously, Age of Calamity is going to have a pretty sad and tragic ending. Same thing with Torna. Now, obviously, Torna is also going to have a sad ending since it's, you know, a prequel to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, where most of the characters are in weird mental states because of stuff that happened to them in the past during the Great Aegis War. And, you know, of course, very tragic, sad things happen to certain characters in certain locations that, well, is what makes this a war. Now let's look into the actual trailers. They both start off with some kind of quote being re-said from the original game. Now, of course, there are the quotes from King Rome, Boss Rama's Hyrule, and Impa that were reused in the Age of Calamity trailer.
The history of the royal family of Hyrule is also the history of Calamity Ganon, a primal evil that has endured over the ages.
I think you are now ready. Ready to hear what happened 100 years ago.
Now, it's pretty similar with the beginning of Torna the Golden Country.
What, you won't keep me safe?
I'll keep you safe. Always. You still remember that?
The beginning of the trailer shows like a flashback to something Jin said to Laura. This flashback was actually shown as a flashback within Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the original game. They both start off with a quote from their original games. Then after that, it kind of shows some gameplay. It starts off kind of peaceful, for Torna at least, and then it kind of starts peaceful with Age of Calamity, and then of course there's the whole battling and but they all show gameplay. Then in both trailers, it also shows a king talking to their people. There's of course the King of Hyrule, and even though we don't hear him saying anything, he's talking to his troops and all the soldiers of the kingdom. Same thing in Torna. The King of Torna is telling all his soldiers and citizens that they must prepare for war. Obviously, since there's also the Calamity War, we can assume that the King of Hyrule is telling his troops the same thing. Then it shows the characters meeting and interacting with each other. Of course, there's the scenes with the 4 champions all with each other and talking with each other. Then, of course, it shows some scenes of Laura and Adam and Jin and all of them talking together. And then both trailers also have some kind of friendly duel. There's, of course, Adam having a little sparring match with Laura to test her skills. And we can assume that Link and Revali are sparring. Either that or they're trying to kill each other, which I wouldn't be surprised. Both trailers show a little bit of fighting between the party members, whether it's an actual fight or if they're just practicing. Then everything just starts to go downhill. Of course, it shows Calamity Ganon awakening, turning the Guardians over to his side, and, kind of destroying everything. And then in the Torna trailer, it kind of starts to show, Malos. He shows up, and then it starts to show, him kind of attacking everybody, destroying, the entire Titan of Torna, and causing huge destruction and disaster to the world. It's very similar to what the Guardians did in the Age of Calamity trailer. And then the main royal capitals get destroyed. Obviously, since Hyrule Castle is where Ganon first appears, that's going to be destroyed first. It pretty much just shows Calamity Ganon taking over Hyrule Castle and pretty much destroying all of Castletown. And same thing kind of happens in Torna. During the final fight between Malos and Mithra, the main capital of Oresco gets completely destroyed by one of Malos's Artifice's lasers. Which, probably killed off a lot of people. And then it shows some gameplay of fighting. Of course, it shows gameplay of Zelda's abilities fighting a Lionel, Mipha fighting a Guardian, Revali and Daruk fighting some other enemies. Same thing kind of happens in the Torna trailer. It starts to show, some of the cutscenes of them fighting Malos. And, some of the great battles that happened between them. And then we have some very, very not so happy moments. In the trailers, you can see the 4 champions struggling in a battle. And focused on their backgrounds, the only real option is that this is them fighting the Ganon Blights, which, if you haven't played Breath of the Wild, are the beings that killed the champions. So it literally shows them about to die. And then when you see Malos destroy the capital of Torna, well, if you've played the game, you know what happens next. So both trailers do show scenes just before a great loss. And then finally we have the end quotes. Both trailers have a final quote of some character saying something at the very end of the trailer. And this is probably the biggest connection between them, because those quotes are pretty much the same thing, but worded a little differently. Here, I'll play them.
I just want to save. I must protect everyone.
So yeah, pretty similar. Alright, those were pretty much all the connections I found between the trailer for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity and the trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna the Golden Country. Did you notice any other similarities? Then let me know in the comments. Yeah. I really need to find a good way to have these kind of non-Let's Play videos where I just talk about something, or if I do a top 10 or a theory. I don't know, I can never present them very well. I need to start doing that, so I don't know how this video turned out. Hopefully it turned out good. Yeah, I'll see y'all next time.